and your local Ingalls market.
It's the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
Round 2 of the South Carolina High School League playoffs. They are in the books. Put a stamp on it, Alex Guest, and close that portion of the file. And now we look ahead to round 3, but not too fast because we do have to get to what happened last night. Welcome into the Saturday Morning Scramble. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you this morning. Alex Guest to my right. He joins me each and every Saturday on the show, and this morning we are live in Spartanburg, 2000 South Pine Street in Spartanburg. So if you are in the Spartanburg area and want to talk a little high school football, we'd love to see you. We are here until 10 a.m. A lot of scores to get to. Well, Alex, I say a lot. I don't know. Was last night considered a lot?
Yeah, I mean, we're dwindling a little bit in the scores section.
We have 18 games?
I mean, I was going to provide everyone with all the upstate scores. That way they know what's happening with the games
That's
next
good.
week.
That's a good point.
So 25.
But next week we won't have many. Next week we won't have many, man. I tell you, I looked at the round 3 matchups last night, and I was already kind of disappointed because there's not many. So
sad day.
Yeah, the games are dwindling, but that's just part of it, right? Appreciate all of you listening to the show, however you're doing so. 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, online on the free Odyssey app, also on the free iHeartRadio app as well. You can also tell your Alexa to play the Fan Upstate. I want to say thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union as well as Ingalls Markets for their continued support of the Saturday Morning Scramble. And boy, do we have a lot to get to, or what? A loaded show coming your way. We've got Robert Muster, the head football coach of the Powdersville Patriots, coming up here in just a few minutes. Also going to pull the Reggie Shaw post-game interview from last night's broadcast that you heard on our sister station. We'll hear from him as well after last night's win over Rock Hill. 8:30 a.m., Alex, we will be joined by Jason Tone, the head football coach of the T.L. Hanna Yellow Jackets. What a big win it was for them last night. 9:10 a.m., we will be joined by Donnie Littlejohn, the head football coach of the Gaffney Indians. So a big show, and, man, a lot to get to, some stats from last night, a lot to react to. But we always start with how we did last night in our weekly picks. Alex, I don't know how many times you've counted this up this year, but you beat me last night. I would say it's probably happened several times this year. You went 16-2 last night, only getting 2 games wrong, and I thought you were going to go 17-1 based on one of the games that you changed last minute. You'll have to explain yourself on that, by the way. I went 13-5 last night, so you have the opportunity here to gain a little ground on me. After 13-5 record for me last night, you went 16-2. I am now 259-60 on the season, and you have hit the 80% clip. Did you realize that? You hit 80% on the season.
Yeah, I realized that last night when I was
this
putting
morning.
all the picks. Yeah, this morning. You're right. I realized that
last night.
After midnight at some point.
You're 256-63.
Not bad.
There you go.
Could be better.
Ground.
Could be better.
Could be better. You got 2 games wrong last night. Hillcrest.
Yeah.
Versus Indian Land. You picked Indian Land most of the week, and then I saw last night right at kickoff you changed it to Hillcrest. You also got Abbeville wrong, as I did, and I think a lot of other people across the state did as well.
Unless you're in Louisville.
Unless you're Louisville. I think they were the only ones that probably predicted that. I got Seneca AC Flora wrong. You went AC Flora. I went Seneca. I really didn't know much about AC Flora, and that was a big win for those guys. What a monstrous win. I also took Spartanburg to take down Ridgeview, and boy, what a game that was. We'll get into that. I also took Greenwood and Greenville, the 2 G's there, let me down last night as Gaffney defeated Greenwood and T.L. Hanna all over Greenville last night. Those Yellow Jackets just rolled or stung, if you will, to put it properly. That stinger, man, that was tough last night. But hey, if you were at a high school football game last night, want to hear from you, Bradley on Facebook asked what happened to Greenwood. We'll talk about it. A lot of turnovers last night for the Greenwood Eagles. Alex was at that game. We'll get into it and more. 72 of you already watching the show, where you can watch the Saturday Scramble live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you are sleeping in a little bit this morning, you can throw us on the big screen and watch the show live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So many ways to listen, so many ways to watch the show. But Alex, without further ado, let's get to the meat and potatoes. The most important part of this show, what happened last night? Weekly scores. While you're doing that, I'm going to get them up on our website. And you said it. You've got a lot of scores from, the entire upstate, it looks like. Is that right?
All six playoff brackets, the upstate teams.
Now, has the high school league already updated their site as well?
Probably not.
Why not? You did it, so why can't they?
Well,
are you telling me that they can't do it the night of?
Yeah.
I was just asking. While you're doing the scores, while you're reading off the scores from last night, I'm going to get them up online.
Please
live
do.
At thefanupstate.com. Yeah. Alex, round 2 scores from last night.
Round 2 scores from last night's games. We'll start in 5A Division 1, the big boy division. It's Dutch Fork getting a 42-7 win over Boiling Springs last night. Burns 37-21 winners over Rock Hill. It's Dorman knocking off Blythewood 44-13, and Ridgeview a 29-21 winner over Spartanburg. All the home teams in the Upper State 5A Division 1 won last night.
Planned it that way.
Yeah, 5A Division 2. Actually, all the home teams except for one in 5A Upstate won last night. In 5A Division 2, it is Northwestern, a 42-7 winner over Catawba Ridge. Gaffney
You know what the score of that game was at halftime, by the way?
6-0, yeah.
Woo! I didn't see that coming.
And then 5.5 minutes later, it was 28-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spiral.
So, Gaffney goes into Greenwood and upsets the Eagles 38-31.
Is that an upset?
I mean, Greenwood was the higher seed.
Yeah,
sure. So, sure, you picked against Gaffney, so it's an upset.
Well, that don't mean anything.
Well, I know. TL Hanna 38-14 winner over Greenville, and Indian Land 40-10 winners over Hillcrest last night. In 4A, South Point 49-0 over Emerald. It's AC Flora knocking off Seneca 34-21. Camden goes into Daniel, gets a huge win, 52-14 over the Daniel Lions. And Westside 55-20 winners over Wren in a rematch from just 2 weeks ago. It is Powdersville 30-7 winners over Pendleton in 3A. Mountain View Prep goes into Crescent. They put up 21 in the first half, and it's by the hair on Cole's chinny chin 50-49.
2 weeks in a row, by the way.
Yeah, 50-49. Mountain View Prep gets a 1-point win over Crescent after a 1-point win over St. Joe's last week. Woodruff, homestanding Wolverines get a 40-37 win over Christchurch last night.
Wow.
And BHP 52-6 winners over Southside Clinton. Southside
Clinton.
Yeah, Southside
Clinton's got a Southside?
Clinton, a 35-25 winner over Saluda. That's what happens when you look ahead at what you're trying to read.
Yeah.
Clinton, 35-25 winners over Saluda last night. Fairfield Central, 23-0 winners over Andrew Jackson. Chester knocks off Batesburg. Leesville, 42-28. Strom Thurmond, a winner over Liberty, 48-21. Louisville upsets Abbeville, 29-28.
Ooh.
That game, Abbeville was up 28-14 at one point, from what I saw. C.A. Johnson.
I think you said that score wrong. I think you said Abbeville lost.
Yeah, that's correct. Abbeville lost.
There's no way that
29-28.
Wait, Abbeville, like Abbeville?
Abbeville lost 29-28.
I know. Abbeville.
Well, you know,
Lost the football game.
In Greenwood, at the game that I was at last night, I'll get to this quickly. Greenwood, I guess they're also fans of Abbeville. So that was the only.
Well, it's just right down the road.
Yeah, that was the only other score. The only score that they said through the loudspeakers all night last night.
Emerald was Emerald not playing?
Emerald played, but they got blanked by South Point.
I'm surprised they didn't give that score because Emerald's in Greenwood.
Yeah,
you know?
But the Abbeville score is the
must
one.
Must be a rival. They might be a little animosity there. I don't know.
Maybe. C.A. Johnson, 28-0 winners over Blackville Hilda. Hunter Kiner Tyler knocks off Ware Shoals 36-12. It is
that's I was pulling for Ware Shoals in that one. That's a tough one. What a season though Ware Shoals had. We don't cover them; they're not our immediate coverage area, but Dotson does a good job down there, man.
Lamar 36-6 winners over Wagner Sally. And in the Skeeza semifinals, Greenwood Christian falls to Bethesda Academy out of Georgia. So, they're in the South Carolina Independent Schools Association. But 32-14 is the final on that one. So, good season by Greenwood Christian, but their season will come to an end in the semifinals.
Jacob in Spartanburg asked, what was the score of the Emerald game? I heard him say it, but I missed it.
49-0, South Point winners over Emerald.
Ooh. South Point, the class of 4A,
they're good.
Right? I mean, is anybody hanging with those guys right now? What a big night. And, man, a lot of scores from last night. Those obviously will continue to dwindle down, unfortunately, but a lot to get to this morning. We've got coaches' interviews from last night. Coaches joining us live this morning. So much to get to. Again, if you were at a high school football game last night, would love to hear from you. 844-326-3663. The Hub City Spartanburgers text line is open. The phone lines are also open as well. Again, that's 844-FAN-PHONE. And, boy, we have, Alex, some really interesting quarterfinals matchups to get to. Let's see here. Emerald, Jacob in Spartanburg gets in and says, Emerald and Greenwood is a big brother, little brother rivalry that Greenwood always wins. Emerald used to be the junior high back in the day, and then it got bumped up to a high school in the early 90s. I'm from Greenwood. My parents went to Greenwood High School in the 80s, and then I went to Emerald. That comes from Jacob in Spartanburg. And that's true. That's a good point there, Jacob, how it is kind of, a little bit of a rivalry, but I don't know. Would you compare it to like Gaffney Blacksburg in a way, Alex? I don't know. Maybe that's not a fair comparison, but similar.
I'd compare it to like Gaffney Spartanburg.
Ooh, shots fired.
Yeah, probably. I'd say like a Gaffney Blacksburg. Gaffney and Blacksburg, they don't ever play each other in like anything.
Probably a reason for that. Too,
yeah,
right?
probably so. But
I want to hear from you though, and so much to get to. Let's hear from the broadcast from last night that you didn't hear on these airways because of Furman basketball. The Burns game last night aired on our sister station. We start with Reggie Shaw post-game and what he had to say after the big win over Rock Hill.
Hey, found a way. I mean, that's it. That's the name of the game. Find a way and keep playing right there.
Clear.
Proud of our effort. Got a lot to clean up. Had a little hangover from the bye week. So
it's 35 seconds left.
Our guys, we got to be more disciplined, composed. But like that defense, man. The defense is really the key to the game this week. Proud of those guys.
Mic will be hot. About 20 seconds left.
Otherwise,
I'm going to make the mic hot in 5 seconds.
Stand down there. I mean, so much
mic is hot.
To get better.
15 seconds left.
Settled down, started running the ball in the second half a little bit. A whole lot to clean up. Hey, proud of our effort.
10 seconds.
1-0. Let's go.
Hey, Coach, let's get ready and head down the road to Dutch Fork. Sam Clark interview.
You heard Sam there from last night's broadcast with Reggie Shaw. Again, we'll get to Robert Muster as well here in just a few minutes. A big win for the Burns Rebels last night, Alex. And, man, I tell you what, Rock Hill, we talked about it last week. First-year head coach in Leon Bolwayer, and what a job he's done. They went 7-4. Coming into that game last night, obviously Rock Hill will finish the year 7-5. But, man, they've had 3 different coaches in, 3 years at Rock Hill. So I'll tell you this, they're still a few pieces away, but that defense is young, and they've got some dudes. And this is a Rock Hill defense, Alex, that held Northwestern to under 100 yards passing. That's kind of their MO. They don't allow you to pass the ball, and Burns could not pass the football last night. Burns had to rely on the run game and the defense. But what a big night it was for the Burns Rebels defense. The run game, Trey Seguero was really good as always. He had over 100 yards rushing last night, and a big night for him is he now has over 1,300 yards on the season with 17 touchdowns, averaging 133 yards per game. But a big win for the Burns Rebels. Rock Hill's one of those teams. You heard Reggie Shaw say it there, Alex, a little bit of a hangover that bye week. I think when it comes to team health, you'll take the bye week, but Reggie and I were talking last night as well. Sometimes you do lose a little bit of that momentum, and I think it took Burns a quarter and a half to kind of get it back last night.
Yeah, you see that a lot, Cole, and it's not just at the 5A level. In years past when we had 4As and 3As and all of that, having the bye weeks. And I mean, heck, you see it in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not always good.
But great job by Burns last night to pick up a big second round win, first playoff win in the new Nixon Stadium, new Nixon Field. And to Leon Boulware and Rock Hill's credit, they had a great season, 7-4, 7-3 in the regular or 6-4 in the regular season, rather. And you know, I mean, had a couple of really close losses to some really good teams and down the stretch, but Burns just played really good football when it mattered most last night, and that's what gets you another matchup.
And Burns was playing really well to end the season. They won 3 straight over Eastside, Spartanburg, and Boiling Springs, and then you had the bye week. And first quarter last night, Burns didn't look good. They came out and to his point there, had a little bit of a hangover, looked a little rusty, but you know, just a couple of jolt plays, you know, where you're able to get a little jolt in the arm, and one of those turned out to be from a fumble, which Burns doesn't have any points on the board. And Tracy Garrett, fumbles the football, which is very uncharacteristic of him to do. And there's a scrum for it, and Kelshard Harris, one of the nose tackles on the defense, was in because it was a heavy package on a short yardage down, Alex. And Kelshard Harris, the big man, picks it up and takes it 50 yards. So that was kind of the jolt, the shot in the arm that kind of got everybody in the game, the crowd in the game. But again, credit to Rock Hill. They really put up a good fight. And I thought defensively last night, I was just really impressed with what Rock Hill did defensively. So a big night for the Burns Rebels. They advanced to the quarterfinals.
What's their prize?
Going to Irmo.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to beat them if you want to beat. You know, you want to go.
I like Burns. I like Burns' chances.
Yeah. Clinton. Let's see. Zach Walford on the YouTube stream says Clinton running back Javen Zoom Cook goes for 20 carries, 239 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He has 35 touchdowns on the year and needs 2 more touchdowns to break the school record for the most touchdowns in a single season. Zach's always coming in clutch with Clinton's stats. What a stat that is. Again, he says Clinton running back Javen Zoom Cook goes for 20 carries, 239 last night, 4 touchdowns. He has 35 touchdowns on the year and needs 2 more touchdowns to break the school record for the most touchdowns in a single season. That comes from Zach on the YouTube stream. Really cool stat there, Zach. Appreciate you sending that in.
Let me tell you another stat from that game last night. Clinton's quarterback, Owen Glenn, 2 for 4.
Yeah, well, they don't.
Because when you have Javen Cook, why do you have to throw the ball?
They don't throw it ever. Yeah. Texter says Cole Shocker of Friday night had to be Abbeville getting upset. Most probably had Abbeville picked to win the 1A state championship. Texter, you're exactly right. That was a big surprise last night. I don't know that anybody in the state of South Carolina saw that coming. To your point, a very big surprise there. Let's keep the audio flowing. Robert Muster, the head football coach of the Powdersville Patriots. I caught up with him late last night, more like early this morning. And boy, did Powdersville have a huge win last night or what. Here's what Robert Muster had to say after last night's win.
Joined now by the head football coach of the Powdersville Patriots, Coach Robert Muster, after a 30-7 win over Pendleton on Friday, punching
5.5 minutes left.
Quarterfinals. Coach, a big win for you guys. I mean, just a dominant performance, and when most people see that score from last night, I'm sure they'll think complimentary football. What went into that complimentary football and the big win for you guys?
It turned into complimentary football in the second half. The first half, we only had we go into halftime with a 6-0 lead.
Wow.
So, you never feel comfortable. We definitely did not feel that at halftime. And, our coaches made, necessary adjustments. I thought our defense played lights out the entire night, especially in the first half, because we were moving the ball. We just couldn't punch it in at times, and they had our back on offense. So, we had a little talk with the kids at halftime, and the kids came out and responded in the second half and looked like a totally different team.
Coach, it seemed like there were a few area teams tonight that were in a similar situation, a slow start in the first half, and all of a sudden, to your point just now, a different team. Is it something with your guys? I mean, obviously every group's different, but is there something, a button that you have to press with your guys that gets them going, or is it just a part of the flow of the game?
Well, I think first of all, Pendleton does a phenomenal job.
Sure.
Coach Howell, who's a buddy of mine, him and his staff, I can't tell you enough about how a class act they are and what they do, and having their kids prepared. And we knew we were going to get their best shot. At this point, nobody's going to lay down for you. What's a little odd is, last week, first time in the playoffs, we opened up with Carolina. And we played them the second to last.
Everybody thought we'd lose last night.
So you're seeing the team twice, and then you're playing Pendleton twice because we played them. I believe it was week 3. We played week
3.5 minutes left.
Our fourth non-region game to start the year. And it's tough beating a team twice. You got to tell your kids, that they're a different team. The first time we played Pendleton, they didn't have a starting quarterback. He had a broken collarbone. Number 5, who I think is their best defensive player. He's kind of an edge rush guy on defense for him, and he had a broken sternum, I believe, and he came back, sometime in region play, and we saw him tonight. So they were a different team. They played us hard.
Sure.
But you're never going to take any team for granted. We definitely did not take them for granted.
3 minutes.
Our kids a little while to get going.
And Coach, who were some of those players, big impact players for you tonight, for those that couldn't make the game?
Jaden works on defense. Week in and week out, that kid's having a tremendous game for us. Jaden Greer, both those guys are juniors, and he was all over the place tonight, doing a fantastic job for us. That's just 2 of the defensive guys. Once the offense settled in, Nasir Waldrop, our running back, he had over 100 yards rushing. It was kind of a quiet night for him because we're used to him here recently having these big bursts, long runs, and he was just kind of grinding it out, and taking rid of the quarterback, making plays. But yeah, we had guys, a bunch of guys contributing tonight, and when they need to step it up, they do.
Coach, when you look at Friday, obviously you haven't
2
had a
minutes
ton
left.
of time yet to game plan much for Mountain View Prep, but you're talking about a team that's 2 weeks in a row in the postseason won by 1 point. What at this point? I know you're going to probably be doing a lot of film study today, but what do you know about Mountain View Prep?
Not a whole lot, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We kind of, when our game's done, then you start kind of, trying to keep tabs on who we're going to be playing. And but like we tell the kids after the game, hey, enjoy this one until Sunday.
That's right.
The kids come in on Sunday at 2 o'clock. We'll do a recovery lift with them, kind of loosen them up a little bit. And then
Minute 30.
The next hour after that, we'll break down this game film and we'll start preparing for Mountain View then. But right now, we've seen 0 film on them. That'll really start on Sunday. But, biggest thing is wins are hard to come by.
That's right.
And like I said before, you never want to take an opponent for granted. You don't want to take it,
1 minute left.
Granted. So we're going to enjoy this until Sunday, and then we'll start our preparation.
I'll have the mic
Coach,
hot
last
at 30
question
seconds.
for you. You're 1-0, looking to go again 1-0 next week. What's the one thing, maybe more than one thing in your mind, you and your staff still want to see a little bit of improvement on before next week?
I was really impressed with our kids the week before. We played Carolina.
45 seconds. The mic will be hot.
We just
About 10 seconds.
And it doesn't matter if it's about 1 point or whatever. But
40 seconds. Mic will be hot in 5 seconds.
And it was, but the thing is, this
Mic is hot. 33 seconds.
And we came out the gates just busting right through on a kickoff return. The kickoff team scored. it was crazy. And
20 seconds.
We would like to see that kind of energy going in every game. And tonight, just kind of starting off slow, we'd like to get back to what we were week 1 in the playoffs.
Sure. Well, Coach, congratulations on the
Mic
win
is hot.
over Pendleton.
10
I know it's a tough one. Any playoff win's a tough one, but best of luck Friday against Mountain View Prep, and appreciate your time as always, Coach.
Yeah, man, thank you. Appreciate what we did for the kids. Absolutely.
That is Robert Muster, the head football coach of the Poundersville Patriots. What a win for them last night. Alex, the 1 seed, they continue to roll. To his point, you heard him say it was only 6-0 at halftime last night, but Poundersville turned it on in the second half, and he mentioned that complimentary football, a big win for them again over Pendleton. Again, Pendleton's a tough out. Week in and week out. So hats off to those guys last night at Poundersville. Appreciate Robert Muster for joining us on the show. We've got to run off to our first break. We'll continue the conversation. We also have Jason Tone of TL Hanna coming up and more to get to here in hour number 1 of the Saturday Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
This is the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
Well, how about it? Continuing the high school football conversation from last night, Alex Guest and I will start to look over at the quarterfinal matchups here in hour number 2 of the show. Also want to hear from you. If you were at a game last night, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line is open at 844-326-3776. 663. But we go back to the phone lines where we're joined by Jason Tone. He's the head football coach of the T.L. Hanna Yellow Jackets. And, Coach, what a win last night for T.L. Hanna. 38-14 over Greenville. Congratulations on the playoff win. I know anytime you can get one of those, you got to be excited, right?
Yes, so winning is definitely hard. We don't take it for granted, and we're excited to be getting prepared and playing this week.
Coach, let me ask you this, preparation-wise, when you're going into that game last night against Greenville, this is a rematch from just a few weeks ago. We all know how that game ended with Caden Morrell and T.L. Hanna, running that kickback in exciting fashion. But is it a challenge to have to play again or to play a team again that quick on a very fast turnaround when you just played them the week before, and then you have the old mantra of, it's hard to beat a team twice?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of challenges, and I was gun-shy because the last time we had to do that was 2017 when we beat Greenwood. Here at this is my first year as the offensive coordinator. We beat Greenwood pretty bad in the regular season. They turned around and beat us in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I had a PTSD going into this game. But I will say this, watching the film, there was so many little things that we could have done so much better. And Cole, I have a really good staff. And, you give us a chance to see and make adjustments and know, what you're going to do possibly and how you look to attack us and offensively and defensively. Those guys just did a phenomenal job preparing our guys. And we took advantage of the offseason. We had already had Greenville broke down, so we just corrected our mistakes that week from that game and ran those plays and that defense over and over again. And our kids were prepared. Now, we didn't know who we were going to play, but we already had them broke down, so why not do them instead of make them forward? So That's what we did.
Coach, when you look at last night's game, what was different about the execution? You just mentioned leaving a little bit out there the first time where you felt like y'all didn't play the best, but execution-wise, like when you're running that style of offense that you guys run, how was the execution different and in a good way last night than it was in that first time?
Well, I think our running back hit the holes better, and they also blocked better. So there was just little things that are technical details in what we do that we just kind of struggled with. And some of that had to do with Greenville. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not anything away from them. Coach Watson, we've played him probably 5 or 6 times over the last few years, and he seems to play us a little bit different defensively. So going into that game, you just don't know quite what to expect. And I didn't do a great job adjusting calling the plays and things like that the first time. And I think we did a better job of, not being one-dimensional. And I know that sounds funny, but, we did throw the ball 10 times last time, where we only threw it 3 or 4 times the first time. So anytime we get a chance to throw it when we want to, we're a much better offense than when we got to throw it when we have to. So.
Talking to Jason Tone, the head football coach of the T.L. Hanna Yellow Jackets after a 38-14 win over Greenville. Did you see, during the week and during the preparation, did you see a little bit more focus this time when playing Greenville from your team, knowing that, hey, this is do or die now?
Definitely. Over the past 2 weeks, even the off week, round one, they were dialed in and focused. And part of the reason was, just like I told them, we got to experience the law without losing. With 3 seconds left in the game, everybody on that side, there's probably a less than a 1% chance that we're winning that game. And, so everybody's got the emotions of a loss.
Yeah.
So they got to experience that and without losing. So they took that feeling, and I played off of that as the head coach, talking to them, hey, we don't want that feeling. Because, next time there's no chance to make up for it. So, they were very locked in and prepared, and, we were able to get some guys that had some nagging injuries. They played, but they had some hamstring issues and things of that nature, and got to get those healed up. And, our kids came out and played. It was very complimentary football. We blocked the punt, set us up in good field position. We kicked a long field goal with a freshman kicker. Our offense ran 80-something plays to their something, or no, they're 30 something. You know, so it's very complimentary football, you know, in all phases last night.
Coach, when you look at what you guys do offensively, you kind of are who you are. But curiosity question here: as the playoffs continue, you get deep in the season. From a staff perspective, do you tweak things offensively, change things, and when you have areas you want to improve, obviously you don't want to change a whole lot because, like I said, that's your identity of running that style of offense. How do you tweak that offense without making major splashes, major changes?
Well, it could be formationally. It could be, you know, moving a guy here and there, putting the guy in position to be successful. You know, this guy might he might down block a little better, so let's move him here. Let's do this. You know, we shift in motion so much. We're just trying to, you know, confuse the defense as much as we can. So it might not necessarily be changing plays.
Yeah.
It could be changing a blocking scheme. Like, hey, this week we're going to do it this way. You know, hey, let's make this call and do it this way this week because this is how they're playing.
Yeah.
Or to, you know, hey, this guy's really good. Let's read him instead of blocking him. That kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Coach, last question for you before we let you go. I know it's early on a Saturday morning, but what do you know about this really good Indian Land team that you guys have on Friday?
I really don't know a whole lot. I heard they had a really good receiver. I heard they have a strong physical defense. You know, but I haven't had a chance to dive into them yet. You know, because I try not to look ahead. I try to stay focused, you know, on the task at hand.
That's the right answer, by the way.
Well, I'm dead serious. I don't know. They're so far up there.
Yeah.
We scrimmaged Indian Land in 2022.
Wow.
We drove up there one Saturday morning. It was the longest freaking drive in the Saturday morning ever for a scrimmage at 10 a.m. So we left at like freaking 5:30, 6 o'clock to get up there and scrimmage at like 9 and 10.
Wow.
So I know it's a long way away. And I know that they're really good. They don't give up a lot of points, and they score a lot of points. So it's going to be a real challenge for our kids, I'm sure.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you. Congratulations on last night's win. And as always, we appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks so much for having me, and go Jackson.
That's Jason Tone, the head football coach of the TL Hanna Yellow Jackets, Alex, after a big win last night, 38-14. You know, it's interesting with these playoffs. It is just the kind of the way it goes. You have teams like Indian Land, and we were having this conversation last week with Hillcrest. You just don't know a ton about them, Alex. There's not a lot of a sample size with some of these teams around you, you know, in your regions, rematches and stuff. You know them, you know who they are, but I think it's kind of fun in the playoffs when you have a team like TL Hanna who's going up to Indian Land, and like Jason Tone said, they really don't know much about them. So now we're going to see, obviously they're going to stick to what they do offensively, but we're going to see just how good Indian Land, TL Hanna. I think this is going to be a fun matchup next Friday.
Yeah, that's a real fun matchup next Friday, Cole. And, you know, it's one of those, if I'm not mistaken, I think that game's at Hanna, which, you know, now
Yes.
Indian Land, how are they going to respond? You know, they've had the advantage of home field last night against Hillcrest, and Hillcrest had to make that long drive over to Fort Mill, and you know, where the heck is Indian Land? Now Indian Land comes to TL Hanna, which is even longer drive than Hillcrest was. But, you know, that's just going to be an interesting matchup between those two teams. You know, they really don't know a lot about each other, obviously. No. What does Indian Land run? We know what gosh, I'm getting my teams mixed up. We know what TL Hanna does, obviously. And, but, you know, Coach Tome mentioned it there. Indian Land, they don't give up a lot of points. They've only given up 132 points all season. They've had quite a few shutouts. They gave up only 10 last night to what we thought was a really good
I still think
it's
a good offense, but you run into a better team sometimes. And when you have turnovers like you did last night, I mean, they talking about Hillcrest, they turned the ball over last night. Fumbled on a sack on the opening drive, did Hillcrest offense. You can't have that. Threw an interception opening drive of the second half. You can't have that. Another interception later in the third. You can't have that. So, you know, we talk about it during region play when we're in Region 2 5A. seeing those battles. Same thing now in the playoffs. You cannot turn the ball over if you want to win these postseason games. Simple as that. It's the gift that keeps on giving, I guess, when it comes to the postseason and turnovers. We continue the conversation on the other side. We're going to get the Gray Ramsey of Mountain View Prep and also start to turn the page and look ahead to this Friday. Stay with us. We'll continue the conversation next right here on the Fan Upstate.
Go to mountaincreekcabinets.com and tell this guy to get out of here.
Mike is hot.
Epicenter for highlights, news, and interviews. The Saturday morning scramble on the Fan Upstate.
Continuing the conversation, want to say thanks to Robert Muster for joining us earlier in the show. Also, want to say thanks to Jason Tone of TL Hanna for joining us in the very last segment. We continue the conversation now as we're joined by Gray Ramsey. He's the head football coach of Mountain View Prep. Coach, a big playoff win last night, and 2 weeks in a row, you guys are making it interesting in the ratings business, I guess, right? In terms of getting these close wins. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Just excited to earn another week. And, yeah, we're making it exciting for sure.
Give the fans their money's worth, right?
Well, I keep telling the kids that all we need playoff time is one more point than the other team, and I think it's a little bit too literal. I told them after the game, I said, it's okay if we win by more than one. I won't be that at you.
Yeah, you've got to change your message. More than 1 point now needs to become more than 10 to see if they're actually taking you. I like that. We're joined by Gray Ramsey, again, head football coach of the Mountain View Prep Stars after a 50-49 win over Crescent. Coach, we talked about it going into last night's game. Crescent, a really good football team. I thought it would be a close game. I didn't know it would be a 1 point game. What was it last night that really allowed Crescent to have their way at times? But obviously, you guys come out on top. What was difficult about this year's Crescent team?
Yeah, I mean, they're just so dynamic on offense. Well, Coach's son and the quarterback position, who does a tremendous job of executing their offense. They put you in a bind with a lot of empty sets, a ton of motions, and then with those motions, you got to account for him in the box, in the light box, and the other box. You got a north-south receiver out wide and other weapons that I think that are just as good. So, they stretch you from sideline to sideline, and they're really, really good up front. They're heavy in their gap schemes, and, they put us in a bind. And when you go and play them, you're really trying to contain them, so to speak. You know that they have too many moving parts where you're going to completely shut them down. And you got to try to rely on forcing some turnovers and putting them down the distances where they have to be one-dimensional and maybe just need to throw the ball so that you can kind of predict what they're going to do. But they did a great job. We tried to make a ton of adjustments throughout the night to try to find a way to get them off of the game, and it's tough too. They kind of know us. We played now 24 games in program history, and we played them 4 times. So, I told the coach, I said, I'm thinking about getting a condo down in Colorado to spend some time. So just a really well-coached team. We're fortunate to go down there and on the road. In a great high school environment. I know many people probably don't know much about Crescent, especially from our area, but they do a great job. Student section, band, community, just felt like a great high school football atmosphere.
No doubt about it, Coach. On the flip side, a close game like that for you guys 2 weeks in a row, I'm sure as much as you would rather win by maybe 2 or 3 or comfortable 1 or 2 scores last night, Does being in those close games pay off in your mind down the stretch?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that we have the positive result to go with it, I don't know if I could pick a better outcome of how we have to get it done. All the things that we've had to go through in 2 weeks to find a way to win and be in close ball games, that's building a championship pedigree. So we needed it. If you can look back now, and you're glad that you get the win with those things. But it will definitely help us in the long run in this playoff games. In order to win the championship, you're going to have to have the kids be resilient. And that's what our kids are building. I told them that the winners, they're resilient. They find a way to win.
Coach, who were some of those guys last night for your Stars that really stepped up and shined?
Katie Ainsworth. If I can find, I don't have his official stats yet, but if I can find a kid in the country, especially in our state, that had a better ball game than Katie Ainsworth, I would be very surprised. On the ground, 3 touchdowns in the air. We handed the ball to him probably 5, 6, 7 times, and then based on some depth, he ended up going and playing corner for us and made 3 or 4 just unbelievable pass for breakups down the field. Had a big punt return for us. So Katie was special last night. I think 3 of his touchdowns went for 60-plus yards. So I'm anxious to see what his final stats are as we go. And then Juice Miller was kind of the star of the show that, for a cliche term, blocks a punt, returns it for a touchdown, and pocket scoops and scores. He's our long snapper. made a lot of great plays on both sides of the ball. Just a versatile kid and is a ball player. So that's the biggest compliment I can give to him. And he is just an old school football player. But those two were tremendous for us last night. And two seniors that wanted to come to practice on Monday. They left everything on the field. So I'm really proud of those two individuals.
Well, Coach, obviously it's Saturday morning. You hadn't started film yet on Powdersville, but what do you know about this Powdersville team that's a really tough out?
Yeah, with our classification being so small, throughout the year, you end up getting some tape from other teams that are crossover games. So seeing them pop up on some of our opponents that we've been preparing for, and they're exactly who you think they're going to be. Coach Muster and what he does, just really well coached. Just trying to. A lot of times, because they were the opponent for our opponent, we're trying to look at some of their stuff and say, well, they had success here, so you're trying to basically copy their game plan, so to speak. And you see on offense that they're really well balanced. They have a great quarterback who can drop all angles, and they look probably familiar to us. They want to get their athletes the ball in space. And defense, they can be multi-dimensional. They mix up their front looks, full slant. Up front, which can make it difficult for your offense. But they're going to be who they've always been for me growing up in this area. Is that, you show up and play them, they're going to be really well coached and they're going to be physical. So for us to go on the road and hopefully have a chance to go back to the Upper State Championship this year, it's going to take our best effort. They did a tremendous job.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you. Congratulations on last night's win. And, hey, don't let this one be so dramatic. How about that?
Yeah, I'll try to throw a couple of extra points out there to see if they're listening.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you. Good luck to you Friday night.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Gray Ramsey, head football coach of Mountain View Prep. And, Alex, you talk about those 2 1-point wins 2 weeks in a row. You're going to need, that wherewithal, that resilience that Mountain View's shown 2 weeks in a row. But as Gray Ramsey said, as he knows, the beast that you have to go up against Friday – it's going to take a valiant effort on the part of Mountain View Prep.
Yeah, no doubt, Cole. And, you talk about those 2 1-point wins against St. Joe's and Crescent. Both of those teams, St. Joe's was really playing good football down the stretch there to end the season. And then Crescent, that's a rematch from earlier in the season in which Mountain View Prep won 41-19 earlier in the year. So then for that to be a 50-49 game last night, MVP picking up the win. But we've talked about being battle tested so much, and I think those 2 games, the first 2 games of the playoffs for MVP, just really shows that they are really battle tested going into this game against Powdersville. And yes, of course, Powdersville is a different beast, but again, when you play like that and you tell your team, hey, I just need you to win by 1 point, obviously you don't want the team to take that literally, but you just gotta have one more point than the other team.
Just like we said in 5A, if you want to get to where you want to go, you have to play the best.
Exactly.
And Powdersville, they're up there. They're the 1 seed. They're the number 1 seed in 3A. So a tall task, but you know what? It should be a really good game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good matchups on Friday. We'll get to what's happening Friday night. We also have one more guest to get to in hour number 2 of the show. I know a lot of you probably just tuning in, but Alex, we've got to get to our scores from last night. A lot of scores. We'll do it in the very next segment, hour 2 of the Saturday Scramble, as we are live this morning at Ingles. He's Alex Guest. I'm Cole Bryson. We're live for another hour at 2000 South Pine Street in Spartanburg. Would love to see you if you want to stop by, talk a little high school football. Want to say thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union as well as Ingles Markets for their continued sponsorship of the Saturday Scramble. Hour 2 of the show next on the Fan Upstate. One more hour to go on the Saturday Scramble. I'm Cole Bryson. He's Alex Guest. A big, big night of high school football. We've already heard from so many coaches this morning, and we've still got one more coach to bring on here in about 10 minutes on the show. We are live at Ingalls this morning at 2000 South Pine Street in Spartanburg. So would love to see you, and also want to say thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union for their continued support and sponsorship of the Saturday Scramble. A big show already, Alex. We continue the conversation. It's time to start turning the page and looking at the quarterfinal matchups, man. If you're a high school football coach, obviously the end goal is winning a state championship, but, man, playing in the quarterfinals, what an accomplishment. That is a lot of teams doing that, Alex. But without further ado, what happened last night? Let's get to some scores.
You want to know?
By the way, yep. Well, I don't, but the people at home do.
Okay.
And by the way, all the scores are online at thefanupstate.com. And Alex Guest, let's rock and roll. And you have more than just our coverage area, the entire upstate, right?
Yeah, I've got the entire upstate, because teams that win in our coverage area, we'll see them at some point if they continue to win.
I like it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. In 5A Division I, Dutch Fort gets a win 42-7 over Boiling Springs last night. Burns 37-21 winners over Rock Hill. Cole, you had the call on that one last night, as you do every week with Burns.
With my favorite white hat.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Later. Well, later.
Dorman, a big 44-13 winner over Blythewood last night. It's Ridgeview coming up with a win over Spartanburg 29-21. Northwestern knocks off Catawba Ridge 42-7. They get a matchup with Gaffney, who went into Greenwood and defeated the Greenwood Eagles 38-31 last night. TL Hanna 38-14 winners over Greenville, and Indian Land 40-10 winners over Hillcrest. South Point blanks Emerald 49-0 final in that ball game. AC Flora goes into Seneca, gets a 34-21 win over Seneca. Camden 52-14 big winners over Daniel last night. Westside 55-20 winners over Wren in a region rematch from just 15 days ago.
How about it?
It is Powdersville a 30-7 winner over Pendleton. Mountain View Prep 50-49 winners over Crescent. Woodruff gets a big win 40-37 over Christchurch last night, and BHP knocks off Southside Christian 52-6. Clinton in 2A gets a 35-25 win over Saluda. Fairfield Central defeats Andrew Jackson 23-0. So Fairfield Central will get a trip to Clinton this next week.
Oh, by the way, that one is Zach commented on the stream a minute ago.
Yeah.
That is a rematch of the 2024 Upper State Championship game.
That is.
How about that?
And
that's a huge game Friday. That's a big one.
I think there's a few games like that across the state. The Gaffney Northwestern game will be a rematch of the Upper State Championship as well.
Let's go.
Big games next week.
Yeah,
it is Chester, a 42-28 winner over Batesburg. Leesville, Strom Thurmond, 48-21 winners over Liberty. Louisville defeats Abbeville 29-28 on a 2-point conversion with 25 seconds left in that ball game. C.A. Johnson 28-0 winners over Blackville. Hilda. Hunter Kynard Tyler gets a 36-12 winner over Ware Shoals. Say that 5 times fast.
Hunter Kynard.
Yeah, exactly. Lamar.
That's tough to do. You're right.
Lamar 36-6 winners over Wagner Sally, and in Skeeza, Greenwood Christian playing in the state semifinals last night. They fall to Bethesda Academy 32-14.
Man, that
final in that ball game.
They're a tough out, man.
They are a tough out. And those are your upper state scores from last night, round 2 of the South Carolina High School League playoff.
We have Donnie Littlejohn, the head football coach, the Gaffney Indians, coming up in about 6 minutes on the show, Alex. But let's put some final thoughts together on last night's game. You just read all the scores off, and we're not going to go through every one of them here. But surprises, we hadn't gotten to this yet. We do this every week. Surprises last night. You and I both. I mean, we kind of, for the most part, knew that these games would be a lot closer than what they were in round 1 with some blowouts. But, I did think the Spartanburg-Ridgeview game would be close. You picked Ridgeview there. I picked Spartanburg. I went back and forth all week on on Gaffney Greenwood. I would say that the AC Flora Seneca score surprised me in terms of how lopsided that one was. And then Greenville, I think that one surprised me a little bit as well. Obviously, we can all use Abbeville as our easy answer for, the one that surprised us the most. But I did feel like Greenville would keep that game a little bit closer than what they did last night against the Ohana.
Yeah, I thought Greenville would keep that game closer, especially after considering how that first game ended between those two teams. I didn't think that was going to be a 38-14 ball game, Cole.
Yeah. Domination.
And I'm just kind of looking back at my notes from when we did our podcast on earlier in the week, and I had that game as being a 7-point win for TL Hanna. So 38-14 is a little bit out of that 7-point range, if you will.
It's just a big night for them, man. You heard from Jason Tolan in the first hour. They dominated every facet of the game last night. It was a little bit surprising to see. No surprise in Irmo last night, though, Alex. Dutch Fork 42-7 over Boiling Springs. They had a running clock at one point in that game, and Alex, that game ended with 3 minutes left in our third quarter.
Wow. So
that game was over pretty quick. No surprise. A tough season for Bowling Springs. They did get a playoff win 2 years in a row with Matt Reel, and obviously building things in the right direction. But with Boiling Springs, obviously they want to, continue to get better. It's just they're in a very tough region.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
No surprise there, right?
No surprise.
Burns Rock Hill, I thought it would be a close dogfight for a large majority of that game, and it was. Dorman Blythewood, I did not think that game would be close, Alex, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Ridgeview Spartanburg, though, man, the Trenton Lynch being back was a big plus. Trey Burt went down last night with a knee injury for the Vikings. Ridgeview, I'll say that's a big statement win, in my opinion. Like, I did pick Spartanburg. It doesn't shock me, Alex, that Spartanburg lost that game, but Ridgeview's, they're a solid team and maybe deserve a little bit more credit than what I've given them this season.
Yeah, no doubt, Cole. I mean, you look at the games that they've lost. They have 3 losses on their record. They lost to Northwestern by 7. They lost to Dutch Fork by 7, and they lost to Sumter by 7.
Wow.
And 2 of those 3 teams are still playing. Sumter lost last night to James Island, who's a really good team out of the lower state. But nonetheless, I mean, you talk about your 3 combined losses by 3 combined touchdowns to juggernaut programs. Just not a bad
a good season for Spartanburg, man.
Yeah.
Spartanburg battled, I think, more injuries this year than any other team in the history of high school football, it seems like. They didn't start the quarterback they didn't start the year with their quarterback, right? With Trey Burke, and then Trenton goes down, Alex, and they lose all these defensive players toward the end of the season. It was a tough year for Spartanburg. Ultimately, they just ran into a really good Ridgeview team last night. So hate to see the Spartanburg Vikings season come to an end. Let's see here. Going down the list, Indian Land Hillcrest surprised you a little bit on how lopsided that one was?
Yes, I had written down that was going to be a close game all game, and I don't think
turnovers.
It was. Yeah, turnovers for sure. I went back and forth all week really on how I was picking in this game, and again, just 40-10, complete surprise.
It was, you're right, domination. And then again, when you turn the ball over against good teams, you see what happens, right? And a tough night for Hillcrest, but opening drive, you turn it over. Opening drive of the second half, you turn it over again in the third quarter, and that's just not a recipe for success. So hate to see it for the Hillcrest Rams, but what a win it was last night for Indian Land, 40-10. Let's go back to the phone lines and bring in our final guest of the show. He is the head football coach of the Gaffney Indians. Donnie Littlejohn joins the show after a 38-31 win over Greenwood last night on the road. Coach, congratulations, first of all, on the big win. Anytime you can get a playoff win, especially on the road, though, I know those road playoff wins have a little extra value, added value, if you will, just being able to go into an opponent's house and win like you guys did last night.
Yes, sir. Anytime you can go to Greenwood and get a win, whether it's in regular season or, scrimmage or even playoffs, you got to be super excited about that, especially with the caliber program that Greenwood produces year in and year out.
Coach, you just mentioned something there, the scrimmage. You guys scrimmaged Greenwood way back in the preseason, which feels like an eternity ago. Can you, as a coach and a staff, can you use scrimmages, to your advantage in terms of game planning and preparation, or is it one of those things where it just happened so long ago you almost have to just completely ignore it?
No, we use it a little bit, not a whole lot. Of course, you're talking about 7 days in football that scrimmage took place.
Right.
You're talking about now 12 weeks into a season. So the teams have definitely changed. During scrimmage, you're looking to try to find your identity a lot of times, and especially us. We're having 2 new coordinators. We were still trying to install some things and figure out who we were going to be as a team. And but Greenwood is kind of established. They've had the same coaching staff there for a while. And so we use it to gauge what has changed over the year. And just to gauge some ability levels at what's shown in the scrimmage from some of their players. Now, again, you're talking about 2 totally different teams at the time. And, we've changed some things, and, some things on our team have changed drastically, especially with the loss of Jake McDowell for the year, because he had a really big scrimmage that day.
Yeah.
So, we couldn't count on him to step in. But we also knew we had some guys who had figured their roles out, be able to step up and help in ways that they didn't help during the scrimmage.
We're joined by Donnie Littlejohn, the head football coach of the Gaffney Indians. Coach, you've been on staff at Gaffney for a long, long time. Being from there and having played there, you know what Gaffney football has looked like in past years. Can you recall a team that you either played on or coached as the offensive coordinator where the team's identity was based in the run game as much as this one is in 2025?
Well, we pride ourselves in the running the football. That's kind of the gap out there, being tough, hard nosed. Just kids that love being physical. So I think that a run game component has always been there.
Yeah.
I don't know if our backfield has been as strong as it has been in the past. Of course, Gaffney is Gaffney. You can make a list for a position and talk about the greats. We do that all the time. I think the other night the kids asked me, Coach, can you name the top 5 receivers coach here at Gaffney? Then it moved to the O-line and then linebackers. I'm like, guys, there's a lot of people whose names you do know and whose names you don't know, or you forget who was just really, really good football players. So we've leaned on the run before. We would like to be 50-50. A lot of times it goes 60-40, 60-40 either pass or run, depending on the caliber of athletes you have at that time or of that year. But with, Bank Fountain's legs and Josiah Hill's legs and Kadarius Bailey, we know he's a phenomenal athlete, can do a whole lot of stuff. And Justin Dawkins, who was injured last night, Dominic Odom, we just feel like the running back or the backfield room is the strongest part of the strongest of our offense. Then we returned 3 or 4 offensive linemen this year who've seen significant playing time. And so we just knew once we get the pieces put together there that it would be fine. Then when you add Hank Davidson and Joe Bowman as tight end and H-back, that's a pretty good recipe for success.
Coach, talk about, going back to the all-time greats of Gaffney list, but, man, when you have a player that is as special as what you have with Peanut Bailey, not only contributing on the defensive side of things, but last night being able to contribute like he did offensively, how much of a secret weapon? He's no secret now because teams obviously see him on film and game plan, but just kind of feels like one of those guys that even if you game plan for, he just has that superpower ability to be bigger, faster, and stronger. What's it like having a guy like that can impact the game as he did in last night's playoff win?
Well, honestly, that is kind of been the philosophy. You're absolutely right. He's not a secret to the type of caliber player he is, but we have not ran him as much in games to hold him for the playoffs. I mean, you want to have an added, something that you can just throw at people. And it took us a little while to figure stuff out again. I think we realized that we're a really good running team. against Spartanburg, or that we could be a really good running team and start leaning heavy on that aspect of it after that game. But the dumb offensive planner from last year, he should have remembered early on that when we put Peanut in the game versus Northwestern, I think you had one carry for a 60 or 70-yard touchdown. So I mean, sometimes some of us coaches can do things and not forget or not remember, what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I never lived that down. I keep it a lot smaller last year and went to him a little bit more in the playoffs last year. So
Well,
we're not going to make that mistake this year.
Coach, last night, the turnovers, the opportunistic defense that Gaffney had, was it more of just being in the right place at the right time? Is it more of forced turnovers for those that weren't the game? Because sometimes, we use that term incorrectly and say forced turnovers, and sometimes they are forced, sometimes they're not. Talk about your defense last night and the way that they're able just to be in the right spot, and then some of those I'm sure were forced as well, right?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think part of it is our defense playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
I think those guys feel really disrespected this whole year. In my opinion, at one point that we were holding people to 17 points a game. And when you have a unit that's holding somebody to 17 points within the first 5 games, we didn't help the team with bonehead penalties and stuff like that. We were holding people to 7 points a game. So I think this group has felt really disrespected all year, if I'm being completely honest. And I think that, after the Eastside performance in the regular season and listening, and I feel like they're playing like their hair is on fire right now. That showed up last night. I think, depending on who you talk to, we were 3 touchdown underdogs going to last night's game. And I think a couple of podcasters who I hope they pick us to lose again this week, because that motivated our guys big time over the weekend, seeing other people not, believe in them and not trust in them. I think this thing was written off after Greenville loss. And I got on our radio very emotional after that game and made broad predictions, which I'm not proud of. And I told the kids they're going to either step it up or make me out to be a liar.
Yeah.
And so I'm super happy today to this point have stepped it up.
Well, Coach, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Has felt disrespected. I think that unit has felt disrespected.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. They're playing, like you said, with a chip on their shoulder. Last question for you, Coach. When you look at Friday, it only gets more difficult. It only gets more challenging. You are familiar with the program of Northwestern. You have to go up the District 3 Stadium one more time. You've had a lot of trips up there. You probably hadn't had a ton of time to watch film on them. I'm sure that started in the wee hours this morning. But what do you know about this year's Northwestern team?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I walked in the offensive office last night, and I'm super excited, smile on my face, just went to Greenwood and got a big win. And I saw maybe 2 clips of Northwestern's defense and turned around and walked out. And I'm going to enjoy this win for 24 hours, 48 hours. I'm not even looking at it.
Yeah,
so
that's
I
good.
literally saw 2 clips and said a word I probably shouldn't have said last night and turned around and walked out. Said, nope, not looking at it. I'll worry about it on Sunday.
They're that good, though.
I know our guys are coming with absolutely. I'm in Northwestern.
Yeah.
And District 3 is not friendly to Gaffney football. It's just not. It is what it is. The road to Orangeburg goes through Rock Hill, South Carolina, and we accept that challenge. We're going to do it. But I know our guys on both sides of the staff will come up with a great game plan. And so if our kids go out there and execute, we'll have a shot at winning.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the big win last night against a really good Greenwood team. Best of luck Friday, and hopefully we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and thank y'all for what y'all do for high school football.
Absolutely. Donnie Littlejohn, the head football coach of the Gaffney Indians. You heard him right here on the Fan Upstate. We'll continue the conversation, Alex, and we have got to start looking at Friday night quarterfinals. We've spent a lot of time this morning on the show looking at what happened last night, but now it's time to turn the page. Quarterfinal matchups are set. What do the brackets look like? We will start to look at that next right here on the Fan Upstate.
and I'm 53. Get tickets at upstatelights.com.
Mike is hot.
Call 844-FAN-PHONE. Text 71307 followed by keyword fan.
This is the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
Well, did not expect Alex to come on the radio this morning and say, well, we don't have any 1A teams left in the South Carolina High School League playoffs. But guess what? In our coverage area, we do not have any 1A teams left after Abbeville loses last night in a shocker. I think that sent shockwaves across the state, probably in what you said, a 2-point conversion play from Louisville. Is that right?
2-point conversion play with 25 seconds left.
Man. In a ball game.
By Louisville. Yeah, with 25 seconds left in the ball game.
Wow. That's
by
impressive,
Louisville
man.
to win 29-28. A game in which Abbeville led 28-14 at one point.
Wow, I'm sure that's going to be they probably won't want to watch that film.
Hey, that's the first time Louisville's ever beaten Abbeville.
That's unbelievable, man. That is unbelievable. What a win for Louisville over Abbeville. I mean, you just don't – many coaches don't beat Jamie Nichols.
Yeah.
At Abbeville. In the playoffs. I mean, goodness gracious. So, with that being said, we do not have any coverage. We don't have any teams, Alex, in our coverage area in the playoffs in 1A. Let's look at the 2A bracket, though, man. I'll tell you, this 2A bracket, I think, is just unbelievable. When you talk about quarterfinals, 2A, one of our coverage area teams where we do cover Clinton. Clinton's not in our immediate coverage area, but we do cover Clinton pretty extensively on the show. Corey Fountain, those guys get a big win last night over Saluda. They will now host Fairfield Central. And, Alex, when you talk about big games on Friday night, there are few bigger than this. Clinton hosting Fairfield Central. Again, it's a rematch of the 2024 Upper State Championship game, and Fairfield Central is just a heck of a club, heck of a ball team. And I don't know what their game plan is to stop Javen Cook. But, when you look at this season, there's been a lot of teams, Alex, that have struggled to figure out how to subdue running back Javen Cook of Clinton. Last night, again, Javen Cook was sensational. 20 carries last night, 239 yards, 4 touchdowns. Javen Cook of Clinton now has 35 touchdowns on the season, and he needs 2 more touchdowns. Does Javen Cook to break the school record for the most touchdowns in a single season? And Alex, 1 will obviously tie it, but let me tell you this. He's going to break it. And Fairfield Central's a tough team. I don't know what this matchup looks like in terms of how close it is. My early lean on this one's Clinton. I just love this Clinton team, and I think Javen Cook's the best in the state in his classification. I think he can tie it, but breaking it would be impressive on Friday against a really good Fairfield Central team.
Yeah, no doubt, Cole. And you talk about this is a rematch from the 2024 Upper State Championship game. That's a game in which Clinton won 32-21 in Clinton last year. And Javen Cook in that ball game, 17 carries for 101 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns, but if he's able to replicate that on Friday night against Fairfield Central, I have a feeling he's at least tying that record, if not breaking it.
And was that you said last year?
That was last year against Fairfield Central. So, yeah, obviously the teams are a little bit different, but both teams 9-3 coming into this game this year. It's going to be an interesting matchup. That may be the game to be at Friday night.
That's going to be an exceptional game. The only losses Fairfield Central has is Ridgeview. They opened up the season with a 40-0 loss to Ridgeview, right?
Ridgeview,
going up
good
classification.
Team. Yeah.
At Newberry, a really good Newberry team.
Yep.
That was a 45-34 loss, by the way, for Fairfield Central. And then they lost by less than 10 to Chester. So, quality opponents. Again, they're coming off of a 36-0 win over Andrew Jackson. They beat Chesney in the first round of the playoffs. I'll tell you what, man, you said it. This one's going to be a spectacular football game in Clinton on Friday night. I just hope. I don't care about the outcome. Obviously, we want to see Clinton do it, but I want to see Javen Cook get 2 touchdowns on Friday. How special would that be?
That'd be awesome. Break the school record for most touchdowns.
Let's do it. I love it. Also, hey, Chester Strom Thurmond. I'm telling you, you look at this 2A bracket, and the quarterfinals are pretty stout, man. Chester Strom Thurmond's going to be a fantastic football game. Chester, the 2 seed, that game will be at Chester. So in 2A on Friday night, Alex, you've got Chester, Strom Thurmond, and you've got Clinton, Fairfield Central. Chester, we talked about it. They're a tough, every week, every year a tough out for any club. And Strom Thurmond with a big win last night, 48-21 over Liberty. I'll tell you this. I don't know. I don't have a lean in this one. I don't have an early inclination because both teams are really good. It is kind of hard to go against Chester. I just love what the Cyclones have done. But then again, Strom Thurmond, they're strong Thurmond this year because they've only lost, 2 games on the season?
Yeah, they've only lost 2 games on the season. They're 10-2 overall. Chester 8-4. Hey, Cole, you talk about games that are rematches. Here's another rematch from the first round of the playoffs last year, a game in which Chester, who was not as good last year as they are this year, a game in which Chester beat Strom Thurmond 44-23. So, again,
what was that score again?
44-23. Chester defeated Strom Thurmond last year.
Yeah.
In that ball game. And
we're going to see Clinton Chester Upper State Championship, aren't we?
Which would be a rematch of Clinton Chester playoff game last year, in which Clinton won.
Before they went on to win the entire thing, right?
So we could see a lot of rematches in 2A, a lot of rematches of games that were really good games last year.
That's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun in 2A. And again, Clinton has to get past Fairfield Central. They're phenomenal. I think they can. I think when you have a guy in Javen Cook as good as he is, you can probably beat anybody you want to beat in that classification. But my goodness, that 2A bracket is going to be a lot of fun. The quarterfinals are set. I will mention the 1A bracket, even though we don't have a team in our coverage area in 1A, Alex. Louisville will be on the road at C.A. Johnson in 1A in the quarterfinals. HKT, Hunter Kennard Tyler, will host Lamar next Friday, or this Friday, if you will, after Hunter Kennard Tyler's 36-21 or 36-12 win over Chris Dodson and Ware Shoals last night. So a big night for 1A teams, but that is the slate, even though we don't have a team in those coverage areas. Again, in 2A, on Friday, you'll have Clinton hosting Fairfield Central. Chester will be hosting Strom Thurmond. It's going to be hard for me to find a more exciting quarterfinals than that 2A matchup. That's going to be a lot of fun. In 3A, you've got Powdersville, Robert Muster, and those guys who we talked to back in hour number 1 of the show, Alex. Powdersville hosting Mountain View Prep. We also talked to Gray Ramsey of Mountain View Prep. We had both coaches on the show this morning. You can go back and listen to those on the fanupstate.com, also on the Odyssey app. Early lean, early inclination on this one, man. When you look at these two teams, both have had exceptional seasons, Alex. I will say I like the way Powdersville is playing right now. It just feels like they're playing with house money in the sense of, starting to kind of hit their playoff groove, if you will. Not saying Mountain View Prep's not playing as good, because they did score 50 points last night, and Katie Hainsworth is as good as the players you'll find in the upstate, maybe the state. But those two close wins, those 2 1-point wins, does that concern you at all when you go against a team like Powdersville? My early inclination would say that I think this is going to be close, but I kind of would lean Powdersville here.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Powdersville on this one too, Cole. You talk about a Powdersville team that they lost in the third round of the playoffs last year to BHP. I think they really want to try to get to a rematch with BHP here in 2 weeks, the day after Thanksgiving, because that could be a really fun, really interesting game. So, I think the 2 back-to-back 1-point victories for Mountain View Prep, that concerns me a little bit. And so I just think that Powdersville right now, I think, is going to be your better team going into that ballgame.
I think so, too. Again, Mountain View Prep, you never know. You know, when you have a guy that's as dynamic as Mountain View does, and Katie Hainsworth and a couple other of those guys that are just flat-out talented, I'm not counting Mountain View Prep out. I'm not. I think they can hang in this ball game. I think they were a little better last year, Alex, than they are this year in 2025. But, this Powdersville team for me, and I could be dead wrong, they do, to your point, if they win, they have to play BHP. But it just feels like Powdersville is due to win the big games, because we've covered them for a long time on this show. Robert Muster's done an incredible job. And, man, do they challenge themselves out of region every single year or what? They're challenged, and by this point in the season, you better be, right? And I just love the job that Robert Muster's done at Powdersville. The only time I got to see him this year was earlier in a 7-on-7, and they just passed the eye test. Like, they're big, they're physical, they're fast, they're strong. They're just that good. By the way, look who is here. Melissa Level of Ingalls making an appearance. I hope they let the town know because the crowd is really going to, the crowd, you better
She'll
watch
be signing
the front
autographs.
doors. Yeah, that's right. Maybe an autograph session. Melissa, you going to you got a college football game today? On her way to Furman. So good luck. Oh, Furman's final home game. That's a big one today against the VMI, right? That's right. That's right. the Mr. Engel. I wish you could play a guitar as good as he can, Melissa. He's really good. You know everybody. Melissa Level, ladies and gentlemen, from Ingalls Markets. She's the best, and she is on her way to Furman VMI today. Good to see you, Melissa. Appreciate you as always. Now she's taking our picture. This is going to break her camera.
It's going to break her camera. Having me in it.
I'm telling you, we've got to brush up here a little bit.
Suck the gut in,
Good to see you, Melissa. Appreciate you as always. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good to see you. That's the one and only Melissa Level, and so much appreciate her and her team here at Ingalls Markets for what they do in their sponsorship of the Fan Upstate. What game were we? We were at Powdersville, right?
Yes, Powdersville.
Also in the 3A classification, the other quarterfinals game, Alex, you have the 2 seed in Woodruff who will be hosting the 3 seed, Belton Honeypath. My goodness gracious. When Brett Sloan took the job at Woodruff a few years back, I don't know if he could have dreamed of a game that's as big as this one. This is by far, in my opinion, the biggest game of his short tenure at Woodruff. Talking about Brett Sloan. Having Belton Honeypath come to town, it's at your place, which I do believe is a big advantage for Woodruff, having that game home, Alex. But I'll tell you this, that's going to be a phenomenal football game. Both teams have had incredible seasons. I'd love to know your early lean, early inclination. Let me tell you this. It's hard for me to lean opposite of the Bears. I love Woodruff. I love what they've done. I think Aiden Gibson is just flat out special. Maybe one of the best at his position across the state. That guy's just a gamer. I think Belton Honeypath's a little bit better of a team. I could be wrong. I just like what their total body of work, what they've done this year. How do you pick this one? My gosh.
Coin flip?
Yeah.
Could be.
Woodruff,
a second round exit last year to Powdersville. I think they are going to be fighting a little bit to try to make it back to a potential rematch with Powdersville. But I agree with you, Cole. I think BHP probably just has the better product that's going to be on the field Friday night. This one's going to be a really fun game. Again, to your point, I do think that having this game at home for Woodruff is going to play into their advantage a little bit. But I think BHP is just, heck, Will Young over at Greer said that BHP is probably the best team in the state.
Yeah.
So
I can't recall a time, and maybe I'm just a victim of the moment. Alex, we've been doing this show for a while. I've been doing it for 7 years now. And covering high school football for 13 years, maybe 14. I can't recall a time where I can remember as many strong quarterfinal matchups across 2A all the way up to 5A as we have on Friday. Again, we don't have any teams left in our coverage area in 1A, but the quarterfinal matchups, literally you could just throw a dart at any of them and take me to any of them on Friday, because this Woodruff Belton Honeypath game on Friday, this is going to have the environment, the feel of this is what South Carolina high school football playoffs are all about. That place over in Woodruff, I don't know what that stadium holds. It's not the biggest stadium, Alex, but I can tell you this, that place on I don't know if you'll be able to fit many people in the stadium Friday night.
They'll shut down the town of Woodruff. The towns of Belton and Honeypath will be shut down.
That's going to be big, man.
I think just a quick Google search that W.L. Varner Stadium has a seating capacity of 7,500. That may be pushing it a little bit, and I think you may end up with
that's a lot,
12,000 there. Friday, you know?
I don't know if there's that many that's going to be there. I don't know if it
I
holds
mean-
7,500, but I'll tell you this. I think it's going to be packed. The 3A matchups, Mountain View Prep and Powdersville with Woodruff and Dalton Honeypath. Those two games in 3A on the same night. My goodness gracious, what a fun time that's going to be. We've got 4A. We've got 5A Division II. We've got 5A Division I to get to. Final segment of the show coming your way. We're looking at the quarter-final matchups right here on the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
Mike is hot.
Cover high school football like the Saturday morning scramble only on the Fan Upstate.
Again, want to say thanks to Ingalls Markets and Founders Federal Credit Union for their continued sponsorship of the Saturday morning scramble. Melissa Level, marketing director for Ingalls, was just stopping by. She's on the way to Furman VMI in a game you'll hear right here on the Fan Upstate later today. Clay Hendricks and those guys trying to break a 2-game skid and a big one over in Greenville with Furman and the Paladins and Keydets. Alex, where did we stop at 3A? Did we get to 4A?
We finished 3A. We did not get to 4A.
Well, it's time to get to 4A, man. What a win last night AC Flora had. You picked them over Seneca. I picked Seneca. Did you have some intel on AC Flora, or did you just go opposite of me?
No, I talked to their coaching staff earlier in the week, and they said, hey, you should pick us.
Yeah, so meaning you just went opposite of me.
No, I did not go opposite.
Yeah, you did go opposite.
I felt like
technically.
Well, yes, I did not pick AC Flora just because you picked Seneca, though. This was a game that I was interested in last night. Seneca, they've put up some big numbers this year, but so has AC Flora. And I felt like Flora had just played tougher opponents, and I felt like Flora was a little bit more battle-tested. I know we use that term a lot, but I felt like Flora was just a little bit more battle-tested than what Seneca has been.
You going to pick him Friday?
No.
What do you mean? I mean, you're riding the hot hand. So AC Flora, Alex, on Friday will travel to?
They will travel to South Point, who is their only loss this season is to South Point.
And what was the
in the first region game of the year for those two teams. And South Point won that game 35-12.
South Point's tough.
Yeah.
South Point's tough, man. Currents and those guys. I mean, it's going to be a tough out. I just didn't know if you were going to ride with AC.
Nah, probably going to go with they are the you got it. You got it?
No, I don't know.
You got it?
I don't know.
They're the Falcons. The AC Flora
I did not
Falcons.
Know that. I didn't know that.
And the South Point Stallions.
I knew that, of course, but I did not know they were the Falcons. So early lean, I mean, it's
not
just,
to be confused with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, because there were a lot of people confused about that. South Point, obviously, is going to be the early lean here, I think, for most people. I think, Alex, this would be a pretty big upset if AC Flora could take down South Point. I don't see that happening. I'm going to lean South Point. But what about Camden, the Bulldogs? Is there a hotter team right now in 4A besides South Point than Camden?
Man, you went back and forth on this one all week between Camden and Daniel. And, I felt like Daniel got exposed a little bit last week when they played Dreer. And only won that game.
With Greer.
Well, there were a lot of people confused about that.
Or as many people confused with the Atlanta Falcons and AC Flora.
But I felt like that game last week when Camden only beat Dreer 14-10.
Yeah.
And then you look at or when Daniel only beat Dreer 14-10. And then you look at the game that Dreer played against Camden earlier in the season, in which Camden won that one 43-0.
Yeah.
I really had a strong inclination that Daniel got exposed a little bit last week, and Camden, just the way, I hate comparing common opponents and all that kind of thing, but I mean, look, Camden was just the better team, and they are really hot right now.
I don't know. I don't even know that they got as exposed as much as they're just not what they were.
Sure.
And they're still a good team.
Yeah.
Daniel is. But how in the world do you try to pick a side in this one? Camden will now travel to West Side. My goodness gracious. What a long road trip. What a fun matchup that'll be.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, on this Saturday morning at 9:47, I have no idea. I think this is a coin. Both teams last night scored 50-plus points.
Yeah.
I'll take the over, but Alex, I have no early lean, no inclination. I have to do a little research on this one. West Side's hot right now. West Side's just playing with a little bit different of a pedigree, man. 55-20 last night over Wren. They've beaten those guys twice in the last month. Do you have a lean on this one?
I don't. This is this really is a straight up coin flip game for me. I mean, West Side, since their 4 losses to start the season, and they are outscoring opponents 41-15.
Yeah.
Where when you talk about those 4 losses, they were getting outscored 50-10 to 17.
It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see.
West Side, they're playing really good football
They
right
are.
now, and as is Camden.
They are. That should be a really fun matchup on Friday. Let's go to 5A Division II, Alex. When you look at these two Division II quarterfinal matchups, boy, could this be a lot of fun and entertaining. In the top part of the bracket, you have the number 1 seed Northwestern hosting the Gaffney Indians. Gaffney defeated Greenwood last night. Northwestern defeated Catawba Ridge. We mentioned that Northwestern Catawba Ridge was close at the half, but Northwestern, we all know, still a really good team. To Donnie Littlejohn's point, the head coach of the Indians who came on the show earlier, it's always tough having to go to District 3 Stadium, Alex, and find a way to win that game when playing Northwestern. Gaffney has their work cut out for them in this one, but if you can be as opportunistic and play as good as that Gaffney defense did last night with a balanced run game, you got to feel like you have a shot on Friday. It's just a matter of, can you turn Northwestern over to the same extent that you turned Greenwood over? I think that's what it's going to come down to on Friday.
Yeah, I think so too, Cole. This will be the 5th time that these two teams have met in the playoffs in the last 7 meetings dating back to November 2016. And right now, Gaffney leads those 7 games 4-3. So, I mean, that just tells you what this is. A rematch at the Upper State Championship game last year in which Northwestern won 58-40. And that score, Northwestern kind of pulled away and scored a couple of touchdowns later in that game to make it look to get to that 18 point. That really kind of was like a 10-point game most of the game last year. Northwestern had the advantage the entire game, but I'd be interested to see how this one plays out. I'll be there, so luckily I'll be able to tell you how it plays out. But this is a game that is really interesting. If Gaffney comes out and jumps on Northwestern like they did Greenwood last night, and able to your point, to get a couple of turnovers at some point in the ball game, this is a game that I think Gaffney could keep very close. I don't know which way I'm leaning right now. My heart tells me Gaffney. My gut tells me Northwestern, and this may be a coin flip for me as well.
It could be a coin flip game. TL Hanna hosting Indian Land. Alex, the Yellow Jackets, man, they're playing with a lot of pride right now. A big 38-14 win over Greenville. Indian Land had their way with Hillcrest last night, 40-10. Quickly on this one, Indian Land, TL Hanna. I'll tell you what, this one's tough to pick. I think I would choose early lean right now. I think I would barely lean TL Hanna, just barely. And again, I think Indian Land's a uber talented team, but because of what TL Hanna does, Alex, and their scheme, I think I would lean toward TL Hanna, but ask me again in 3 days.
Yeah, I'll ask you again in 3 days then, Cole. I'm right there with you. I'm leaning early lean just barely by the hair on your chin. Again, I'm leaning TL Hanna.
$37-21. It's a 1 versus a 4, and we've seen over the past 2 decades, decade and a half, Alex, that there aren't many teams that go to Dutch Fork in the playoffs and knock them off. I was there for one of them in 2011 when Boiling Springs was able to go to Dutch Fork and get the win.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often. And for Burns to get a win on Friday, with their defense playing as good as it is, it's an elite level defense right now for the Rebels, and having Trey Segura, you feel like that gives you a puncher's chance, but you also feel like if you're the Burns Rebels, you're going to have to go play a near perfect game somehow, some way in order to keep this thing close.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I think, a couple years ago, Dutch Fork started the season 0-5, and we thought they were down then, and then we saw what they did. They went on and they won a championship. I don't know that Dutch Fork has quite the team that they've had in years past. And I think that, again, that Burns has a puncher's chance in this. Burns goes as Trey Segura goes Friday night, and I think that's going to be the thing for them. Well, these two teams have not met up since 2021, in which Dutch Fork won that one 56-25. So it'll be interesting to see how Burns responds going into Dutch Fork. We all know it's a weird place to play, weird atmosphere, and I'll be interested to see how this one plays out.
It's real simple. Tom Knotts is going to load the box. Tom Knotts is going to do his best to not let Trey Segura beat him on Friday. And Tom Knotts and that defense, they're going to make Kane Rogers win the game.
Yep.
They're going to make Kane Rogers and that Rebel offense have some critical throws, some crucial pass plays. If Burns can do that, if they can make some big throws down the stretch, I like their chances to keep it close. But if Kane Rogers does what he's done in big games this year and turn the ball over and cost the Rebels, I just don't see it happening because ultimately you cannot go down to Irmo and turn the ball over and win. Period.
Absolutely.
You just can't. And if you do Friday night, your season will be coming to an end. It's going to be an extremely tall task. If you told me the Burns Rebels go down there and don't turn the ball over, I said, I'd like to see the score of that game. But, again, turnovers, I know that's simple, but that's what it comes down to for me is turnovers for Burns. If they can limit their turnovers and get Trey Segura going, I think it could be interesting. But, man, you just can. Dutch Fork doesn't make those mistakes. They don't make the mental mistakes. Burns had way too many penalties last night. Dutch Fork doesn't. You're going to have to play a flawless game on Friday. And the last one, Alex, Dorman, Ridgeview. My goodness, what a game this could be. Ridgeview with a big win last night over Spartanburg, 29-21. Dorman, we all knew that Blythewood, no disrespect to them, but that wasn't going to be a contest. I told people all week long that that's going to be a blowout, and Dorman folks said, I don't know. No. That was not that never was a game last night.
Yeah.
Dorman, Blythewood. Now, Ridgeview's better than Blythewood. Ridgeview's a really good team. I still lean Dorman, but I think this could be a close, maybe interesting game going back to turnovers here. I mean, how important are these turnovers late in the season, these big games? I lean Dorman, but I like this matchup. This one could be fun.
Yeah, I'm leaning Dorman on this one as well, Cole, and that's primarily because I said since the playoffs started that Dorman is my Division I state champion pick. I think they go on and win it all, but, these two teams have only met once before in football, and that was 42-20 win for Dorman back in 2021, which you can't really take much out of that season. So
I think that was the same year they played Spartanburg the week before or the week after. It was like Spartanburg. Then maybe it was the next year, but they played Spartanburg right around the time Mark Hodge got there. Ridgeview did, and maybe it was a year later, Alex. But those, to your point, not a lot of history there.
Yeah, not a lot of history, and that was that was when Dave Gutshaw was still at Dorman as well. So
first time for Morris.
Yeah, Jake Morris and his Dorman Cavaliers. Again, I think they go on and win Friday night. But to your point, I do think this game stays close the majority of the night.
I think so. I think it's going to be a physical game. I think Ridgeview's going to be fired up for it. Making the trip to Roebuck, it'll be a home game for the Dorman Cavaliers. Could be a lot of fun, man. I think it could be a lot of fun. So, listen, quarterfinals. Alex, it's here. If you've made it this far, you're that close to punching your ticket to an upper state championship game, right? And then you're that close to punching your ticket to a state championship. Congratulations to all the teams and coaches that have made it this far to the quarterfinals round. And, boy, it's going to be a lot of fun on Friday. Continue to follow us on Twitter at @FanScramble. We might have a little podcast extravaganza, playoff extravaganza again for you this week, so stay tuned for that. But, Alex, next Saturday, you and I will be in Powdersville next Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m., the Powdersville location. We will be there. We will see you then. We'll be breaking down the quarterfinal matchups and getting you ready for the upper state championships right here on the Fan Upstate.
Clear.
Thanks, man.